Welcome back to the Jeremy Awakens Podcast. And today's guest is the one and only Kyle Froonjian. And Kyle is actually one of the most well-known dating coaches in the world. He's grown his Instagram to over 1 million followers. And this was actually the first time I met Kyle in person, and he did not disappoint. He shared some really vulnerable things about his childhood, about losing his father when he was only 12 years old, and how that experience impacted the rest of his life and helped him become the man that he is now. So I can't wait for you to hear this conversation with Kyle. Remember to be fully present as you listen and do your best to absorb this information and make changes in your life. Let's get it. This is really dope just because, like I was telling you, it's an opportunity for us to just fucking drop in and be fully present. I feel like the cool shit about podcasts is we get to just connect authentically with no bullshit distractions. And it's very rare that you have an hour and a half where there's no phone, no device, no notifications. We just get to fucking connect. So I'm excited for that shit.
For sure, bro. I've had probably 3 or 4 different podcasts, and every time I'm on that, it's the first time I'm like kicking it with the dude. So it's an interesting, it's the first year I've had that like opportunity or experience to just get to know somebody while we're just working on business. I don't know, I guess it makes sense in terms of networking and building something.
Fuck yeah. So you moved to Miami in February. It's been about 8 months. What has that transition been like from Jersey? And you're living in Brickell. So what's that been like for you?
Different. Ironically, once I got here, I think I moved here under the expectation that it was going to be more party. And ironically, once I got here, I got way more dialed in with my work and my routine. And it's like the opposite of what I think most people would expect a Miami lifestyle to be like, honestly. So it's been good. I'm just hyper focused on my routine, helping clients, building the business. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm locked in, man. I was telling you before we started, I was just really locked in with it. So
yeah, I can see that. What was the intention when you moved out here? Was it just to get a change of scenery? Is it because you heard there's a lot of bad bitches in Miami? Like, what was the primary intention when you made the decision?
It's probably like a combination of things. Because like I said, I've spent 34 years in New Jersey. So for me, especially over the last 5 years or so, just teaching primarily pickup and dating and just being in that space in New York, New Jersey, like my whole life, not really traveled too much. I had the financial freedom where I was like, yo, I got to at least experience it for a year just to see if I really like it, if I don't like it. My team was talking about doing it for a long time. So just wanted to pop out, see what it was about. So And also see if there was bad bitches running around or not, but you know, a little bit of everything.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually moved to South Florida almost 10 years ago. I'm also 34, and I moved here when I was 24, and wasn't in Miami the whole time, but it was really with the intention of like, yo, dog, I've been in Cali most of my life. My girl, I just found out was cheating on me. I got fired from my dream job.
24?
Yeah. And I just had a mindset of like, if not now, when? It's like this life is meant to be experienced fully with different adventures. And I don't want to be one of those people that just like stays in my comfort zone in the same fucking city I grew up in, hanging out with the same kids that I went to high school with. Like I knew there was so much more possibility in my life. So at 24, I literally packed up my Honda CRV. I drove cross country, dog. And like, I didn't really have any contacts. I didn't really have any like job lined up. I really just, for the first time in my life, I think, like fully trusted my intuition and just took a chance.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I waited till 34 to do that. So props to you for pulling the trigger 10 years earlier, because I was at the same point at 34. I was like, if not now, when? I mean, at least you did it at 24, but I was a very late bloomer. So I don't even feel like I came out of my shell until I was like almost approaching 30. I was 28 29, still smoking weed, bullshitting in my mom's basement. Like,
Really?
yeah, just like not really doing too much. So now that I had the business built up and stuff, there was still a lot of resistance to get out, honestly. I think the older you are, it's almost like you become stubborn around these stories that you have about yourself and your identity and where you live and the people around you and what they're going to think. And
Facts.
it took a really long time. So, I mean, props to you for just pulling the trigger at 24, honestly.
Yeah, bro. Well, one of the interesting things about our brain is that most of our subconscious mind has been created in our first 7 years with all these different stories and beliefs. And as we get older, it gets more challenging to break out of those systems.
Yeah.
Right? We literally have to reprogram our subconscious and we have to update our supercomputer. And that requires us to take action and like lean into the discomfort. So you're 29, you're fucking smoking J's, you're fucking in mom's basement.
Yeah.
And then what inspired you to start creating on YouTube and getting into this dating aspect? Is that something that you struggled with a lot when you were younger? Is
massively.
Okay.
Yeah, massively. My dad passed when I was 12. He was the closest person in my life, my coach, my best friend. He was the head coach of all the sports. I played soccer, basketball, baseball. He always was the coach. And so when he passed, and it was abrupt too, because he was an alcoholic and a drug addict. I didn't realize this at the time. I thought everything was just fine and dandy because he would always act like everything's cool, fully functioning like alcoholic, coaching sports teams, drunk, like just fully drunk and stuff. So it was abrupt for me. It was like one day he was there and then he was just gone. So it was very painful, as you could imagine. And I just couldn't deal with the pain. So like what I did, it was just like avoid it. I just buried it. I didn't go back to the graveyard. My mom and my sister would go back every year. I just avoided that whole thing. And I really just went into video games. That was like my escape from the world. And so that was my thing, like throughout my teenage years. And then eventually I got into working out. That was like where I first kind of like started getting, I guess, into self-development. I was like 18, started to see that, well, I could actually build up my physique a little bit. And then after doing that for a little while, there was a girl from middle school who had a crush on me, and we ran into each other 10 years later. And she was way hotter now. She was like out of my league at this point, but she still remembered me from middle school. We started hooking up, and then she became my girlfriend instantly. From 20 to 25, she was my girlfriend. And then she kind of like brought my walls down a little bit. I was very closed off. I couldn't communicate emotionally. I couldn't even say I loved her to her face. It took me like a year to do that. One night on a drunken argument of me crying, blacked out, I like admitted that to her one time. And yeah, so it was there was a long period from like 12 years old to probably 22 years old of me just being closed off from my emotions and everything that went on. Never went to therapy, didn't talk to anyone about it, didn't do any mushroom experiences or anything like that to like get in touch with it. And so eventually, fast forward to, keep the story short, she left me when I was 24, 25 for another dude on my birthday. And I was just devastated. I didn't know what to do about the whole thing and had no confidence. I was just awkward with women at that point, honestly. And so, yeah, I was smoking weed in my mom's basement and just BSing, playing video games, not knowing what to do. And really, I just wanted to get out of pain. That's what it was. I was heartbroken, trying to get out of pain. That's when I Googled how to get your ex back. That's where the whole thing started, how to get your ex back. And then that led to how to talk to girls, how to create attraction with women, how to stop being an introvert in your mom's basement smoking weed. And that's kind of where it blossomed. And that's a little bit about the backstory without going on too long of a tangent.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. So your dad passes 12. So 22 years ago, have you been back to visit his grave since?
So that girl that I dated at 20, after 2 years of being in the relationship with her, because she was very emotionally communicative. Her whole family lived in Florida. She was here by herself. She talked to her mom nonstop about everything. And so she was like, you got to go back. And she slowly, like, we had this ongoing joke that she was like slowly knocking my walls down in terms of like my emotional communication. And so we went back. It really wasn't that crazy of an experience at that point for me. I think because I had spent so long away from it. It was very buried and disconnected. I didn't cry. I didn't even really like, it was an interesting experience, but nothing too crazy from that revisit a decade later.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's so interesting how when we go through one of these really painful, traumatic experiences, that the first instinct is to escape the feeling and to numb ourselves.
Yeah.
And your mechanism to numb was video games, smoking tree, you know, and it can be alcohol, it can be porn, it can be sex, whatever. But it was when you actually allowed yourself to get tapped into your emotional body where things started to change and transmute, which is really powerful, I think, for people to understand, is like being able to fully tap into your feelings and open yourself up that way, which is refreshing for someone in your space to be teaching that. Because I think so much of the shit that I've seen and like the dating and like trying to pick up women, it's like very, it's very, it's like sneaky. It's like deceptive. It's like stripping away authenticity. But from what I've seen, watching some of your shit, it's like, no, actually lean into authenticity and lean into the discomfort of potentially being rejected and live with the results. So I'm curious, like when you started creating YouTube 2019, like what was the message that you were putting out? And I'm just curious because now it's just so interesting to see the trajectory.
Yeah.
And like, and sorry to cut you off, but like,
no, you're good.
I think in my life, especially what I've realized is that pain is oftentimes the most powerful catalyst to really tap deeper into your purpose.
For sure.
And that's exactly what you did, bro.
Yeah.
You were fucking living a really tough, painful life, like numbing yourself with video games and weed and unable to fully feel your feelings. And then you fucking were able to transmute that and do what you do now, which is impact millions of people, which is fucking dope, bro. So congrats to you for just stepping into that.
Yeah. I mean, it was a process. It wasn't like I just assumed all of that. And I would even say when I first got into the pickup and dating stuff, it was still, to some extent, in hindsight, a means of avoiding. Still, there's a lot of dudes that get into the pickup as a means of avoiding, or they build up this other identity around being a dude who gets women. Like that, in hindsight, that's 100% what I did. I've always been avoiding since the death of my dad. I was avoiding through video games. Then it was weed throughout my teens into my 20s. And then when that first breakup happened when I was 24, I was devastated off of that. The two biggest traumatic experiences of my life was the death of my dad and that woman leaving me for another dude and not being able to get her back and seeing them work out at my gym together for the upcoming like 6 months. And I'm driving in my hometown and I see them getting out the car.
That,
you know, so that was very traumatic. And yes, I mean, you brought up so many different points. I'm trying to think which direction we could go in. There's the idea of pain being the catalyst for taking massive action. But then there's this other idea that I want to talk about, which is like avoiding. I guess I'll keep going with this first. But essentially what happened was like, when I really discovered the idea that you could go out and work on yourself in terms of social confidence and being able to interact with women. And if you can communicate a certain way, you can be perceived in a more attractive manner to women. I dove deep into that and obsessively developed a character the same way I built up a video game character. I developed a character who was very good at that thing, a character who could not experience that traumatic experience again as a means of like almost a defense mechanism. And I think a lot of dudes actually close off to deeper levels of intimacy and go really deep into just like shallow, intimate experiences repetitively over and over and over again as a means of, I guess, getting that validation, still having that success, confirming that identity, and so much more. I mean, it's a very deep topic. We could spend the whole podcast on that, but that was definitely something I dove into. And in hindsight, I mean, I I think that was the catalyst of what started my career, really, is because I just was obsessed with that. And I took it to a very extreme level, to the point where I wanted to help other men too. So I have this interesting dynamic of a dude who lost his father figure, who was also his best friend. And once I got out of that pain through pickup and social skills and confidence, I found myself wanting to help other dudes do the same. So it was for the greater good, but there was definitely these unhealthy elements to it as well, which is like the ego, the validation, getting praised for being with all of these women, getting praised by other men for being with all these women, and then also being able to publicly display these things, and then getting paid for all of this simultaneously. I mean, there's a lot of different elements that are like intertwined into that, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it just depends on which direction you want to take this. There's a lot to unravel in this shit. You know?
No, bro, it's super interesting. I think that's so true. I was just talking to my boy Thor before this about how, you know, in my journey as well, there's times where I was chasing validation, whether it was from my dad, whether it was from like social media, whether it was from women, right? But in that process, I closed myself off to true, authentic, intimate connection because I wasn't doing it really from a heart space. I was doing it more from ego. And I think that's so important to differentiate between the two.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I'm like, I love like getting to know more of this because it's operating with more intention. It's cool to see people, like we were just talking about, like this new wave of leadership and leading other leaders. And I think that's what you're doing is like doing it from a place of like your own experience, your own challenges, your own obstacles, and then allowing others to follow your lead. Yeah. Which is really dope. So I'm curious to know, after your dad passed, like, did you ever find like another father type figure to help lead the way, or were you kind of just on your own?
No, I mean, the one thing I did learn at a very young age was that the internet has all the resources available to you if you just know where to look. And I learned it started with video games, because back then they didn't even have YouTube. So I would go on like this game FAQ website where I could find all these guides to all the answers, and I could go down the paths myself. And so I became very resourceful. And then, no, there was never any one father figure. I've always hired mentors though. Like once I hired the first mentor, I was really bought into the idea of mentorship. Yeah. And then that's kind of been my philosophy over the last like 10 years or so. But there was never one father figure. Since
that relationship ended when you were 24, 25, have you been in a committed relationship this last 10 years, or has it been kind of going on that journey in and out?
So I spent 3 to 4 years from the breakup till about 28, 29. I think it was probably from 25 to like 29, just really building those skill sets and just going out every week and studying this stuff like obsessively, to the point where I just wanted to coach it. I saw all these guys on YouTube and I was like, this is cool. These guys travel the world. They're teaching the stuff. They're helping men, and they're getting all these women at the same time. Like, to me, that seemed like a dream job. So I was kind of bought in on the idea that I was going to work for one of those companies. And then that's actually what I did. I reached out. I landed a job as an assistant to one of the coaches, and they hired me as an intern. I started working with them for a couple of months. And then at some point there was this altercation that was like, didn't even really have anything to do with me, but they had to let people go within the company. And so they fired me. And then, so I was 28, 29. And what I realized by working in that company was like, yo, I could do what these guys have been doing. Like I've been doing this for like 5 years. I'm confident with the skill set. I want to do this myself. Now that they fired me, I want to start my own channel. So the first 5 years, it was just me single, trying to build the skill set, really just trying to become this like pickup dude, just straight up. I was like, I want to be this pickup guy. I want to teach this shit. I want to go international with it. And then once the company let me go, that was the fire that lit under my own ass to start the channel myself. So that's why in 2019, beginning of 2019, I started my own channel. And then I started going out and doing that. COVID happens. And right in the beginning of 2020, I met a new girl. So this was probably 5 years after that first relationship. I met another girl and we clicked really well. And I think part of the contributing reason that I think the relationship was actually able to develop was because in New Jersey, we were in a massive lockdown. So I didn't even really have the opportunity to go out and like really work on the skill set or go teach it or go do anything. I had to still stay at my mom's house. And it was like, where were you? Were you here during COVID?
I was.
Yeah, so I don't know how it was here, but in New Jersey, it was like, if you're going to go to Target, like you're going to die. It was like apocalyptic, like
Facts.
straight up, you know?
Yeah.
And my mom's there and she's saying like, don't go out, blah, 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 blah. And so we just hung out at the apartment.
Crazy.
Yeah, we hung out at the apartment. I was already starting to make decent money from the channel. I didn't really have the work ethic or the drive or the discipline, but like I had this hot girl and I had my business making me like 10K a month at the time. And so we just chilled in lockdown, smoking weed, fucking off, having sex, connecting, like falling in love. And so that's pretty much what happened over the first year of the relationship. And then I guess over the following 4 years, as COVID ended and things opened up and we started going out more, I still had these egotistical pickup identity that was an identity crisis essentially, because I loved her, but I know that I still had this whole other side, and more importantly, this whole business that I had built up around this identity. And so all of those elements on top of me just being a dismissive avoidant in the relationship, it was like when things were good and she was helping support the business and everything, it was great. And then when we would fight, I would always just be kind of looking at the other side of what I could do by myself and how much better the business could be. And just a lot of egotistical validation seeking things on both sides of it. It got really sloppy, honestly. And it's all my fault in hindsight. And towards the beginning of this year, along with me moving out here, and that's tying into like what I was saying, is like I partially moved out here to Miami because I was like, I still wanted to be this fucking pickup dude.
Right.
You know, I still wanted to like, I feel like I hadn't hit Miami. I haven't seen like the highest like levels of this shit, you know, like Jersey's just different. And so for me, it was like part of me just needed to explore that. I needed to explore that. I couldn't accept wondering what if. And so that was part of the reason I came out here. And honestly, I pretty much pushed the relationship to end. I didn't end it, but I pushed it to the edge, to the point where it ended. And then that was in the beginning of this year. And then I had my quote unquote freedom. And I spent the next 2 months going out and really doing my thing at the beginning of this year. And then after about a month or two of that, I was like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? You know? And I decided at that point, I want to just go fully sober. I want to stop drinking. I want to stop going out and partying. I want to stop with the meaningless sex. And I want to double down on myself to take a couple months to heal and process everything that's been going on. Because I know coming out of a 4-year relationship, you don't just rebound back into fucking pickup and sex and alcohol and partying. It's just not it's not, I'm aware enough that that's not the play.
Right.
And so I wanted to go, I set up a plan to do just 100 days of sobriety. I wanted to do 100 days of sobriety, 100 days of celibacy. I hired a therapist for the first time in my life, even though my last girlfriend was like, you should go to therapy. You should go to therapy. You should go to therapy. And she was super on board with everything, dude. Like she knew about the whole channel. She was supportive of it. She was involved in a lot of the things. And in hindsight, I talked to so many dudes. They're like, what's the problem? Like she was like down for the whole thing. Like, what's good? Like what happened? And honestly, it was like literally me pushing the whole thing away. And so, yeah, I mean, that's when the relationship ended. I did the 100 days of all of that, really brought a lot of clarity to myself and all the things we're talking about here about, like, I didn't even understand the correlation between the death of my dad and me being an avoidant and my first relationship, and then that causing me to get into pickup. And that's why I built up this identity, and that's why I built a brand, and that's why I couldn't commit in the last relationship. And then all of these elements, you know, just uncovering a lot of things. Yeah, a lot of deep topics that are intertwined. And then after the 100 days, I just kept going. The 100 days ended in July. I felt so good that I'm still 188 days fully sober, haven't missed a day at the gym, hitting everything, just really locked the fuck in.
The celibacy stopped after 100 though.
So yeah, so interestingly enough, after that ended, there was a girl who hit me up that I met right before the 100 days started. out the blue hit me up and was like, hey, what's up? Like, long time no talk. And I wasn't really craving it because I was also doing like no masturbation, nothing. So I did like 100 days, like just nothing. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just explore this. I have no expectation. I have nothing. Let's just see what happens. And so we ended up hanging out. It did lead to sex, but it was very interesting. Like I just noticed how like detached I was, and I could see my old self going through those motions and seeing the moments of that the old me would want to do certain things to get certain outcomes solely based out of desire, validation, and confirming some identity around being a pickup dude or a dude who's successful with women.
Right.
But it's not until you fully detach from those things, because keep in mind, during those 100 days, I still committed to going out every single day in Miami and going out and approaching women daytime sober, but just not having sex, not doing anything, staying committed to my 4 a.m. wake up. And even that whole process in itself, I noticed I started interacting with women differently. During that course, you start seeing women differently. It sounds weird, but you start connecting with human beings, not walking around looking for the next hole, like put my D in type thing, And so, yeah, there was just a lot of different perspectives that changed over that process. And so I did hang out with that girl, but I noticed after that my perspective was starting to change more and more and more. I didn't question any of it. I'm a big believer in just like exploring it, with unbiasedly. I do a daily reflection every morning. I have a full routine. I analyze the previous day. I track my regrets. I think about where I went wrong the previous day, how I could be better. I take note of new insights that I'm becoming more aware of throughout the day, and how that might be different from like the previous week or the previous month, kind of like how my perspectives were changing on these things.
Right.
And so it's really interesting to just see the evolution. And obviously that comes out in my teachings and all of this other stuff. So there's really been a massive transformation over the last 6 months. And I'm actually in communication with that girl again. That we broke up.
I was visiting like a weekend ago or 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, exactly. So we did 6 months no contact. I saw her. I thought something that was, well, actually, do you have anything to say before I keep going? I'm just like dumping the whole story on you.
Yeah, no. I think
I'll just keep going.
No, I think because I'm in a similar process now where I'm really committing to going inward and prioritizing my self-care and really like all of the habits that support that, because I realize also like in the last year navigating different relationships and partnerships ending and shit like that I was also not allowing myself to fully feel and process certain things. And then I would resort back to old patterns and habits that didn't serve me. And it really just required me to get fucking quiet, bro. And like be with myself with zero distractions, zero things to numb myself with. And really what I learned in that process is that when I allow myself to get still and get quiet, the things that I need to hear and need to see become very clear. And that has been a massive part of my process as well. And like your 100-day journey sounds very similar to that.
It's the exact same thing, especially with it's full sobriety, no nicotine, no alcohol, no weed, no drugs, 4 a.m. wake up, which means, by the way, if you're gonna do that 100 days in a row and you wanna be well rested, you pretty much need to be going to bed by like 8 p.m.
Yeah, that's very impressive. Right. And I just went on a journey of trying 75 hard when I got back in September, and I made it like 24 days, which I was like, and then like
24. So
and then I drank a beer with a couple of my boys, and I was like I'm not mad at myself for that. Maybe I'll try it again. But what I was going to say about that whole process and the way that you're teaching that I think actually really resonates is that if you want to actually attract the partner of your dreams, you have to actually become the best version of yourself. You have to embody those traits and skills. And that's what you spent time doing. So if you want to attract someone who's very health conscious, you got to fucking be healthy. If you want to attract someone who's connected spiritually, then you have to cultivate your own spiritual practices. If you want to attract someone who like wants to explore and travel and is spontaneous and adventurous, you need to also embody that. So I think that's probably a big reason why you're having a lot of the success you are, is because it's not so much about the outcome of like pulling a girl. It's more so about becoming the best version of yourself in the process.
Yeah.
Which is dope.
Don't do it for the girl. You got to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
100%. Like that. And it's tough because there's just different levels to it. And the dudes that are at the lowest levels are in the most pain, and they genuinely just want to get laid. So they are getting into it just for the girl. But it's like the further you go down the journey, the less it becomes about the girl. And I was actually just making a video about this morning. It's like the further I go into my journey, the less it becomes about me at all. It's literally not about me at all at this point. It's just initially the lowest levels, it's very selfish. It's very greedy. It's me, 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 me. Why, well, actually, the lowest levels, why me? Why me? Why is this me? Blah, blah, blah. Higher levels, it's me, 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 me. Then as I'm going to higher and higher levels, I'm realizing it's not about me. I need to become the highest frequency individual to set an example so I can then radiate that love and value back to the world for the betterment of humanity. Like that's really what it's coming down to at this point. So, I mean, there's just different levels to it, you know, but if you're at the lower levels, you dudes are getting into it just to get the girl. I started working out because I wanted to be jacked and I wanted to get praise from dudes and get laid. Right. That's what it was about. Now I'm into fitness because it puts me into a high frequency early in the morning when I hit that workout. And I need to be at that so I have clarity, so I can get on my coaching calls, so I can rip a podcast with my boy, so I can deliver bomb value. You know what I'm saying? So the higher it goes, the less it's about me. It's putting me into a position where I can deliver that to have an impact.
Yeah, I think that's really the highest level of consciousness you can operate from, is like being in service.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we need to go through that process where we are more attached to our ego and like doing it for our own validation and out of our own insecurities. And then once we're able to kind of do the inner work to work through some of that shit, then you realize like, yo, there's no better feeling in the world than actually helping another human being.
That's it, bro.
Dog, that shit is the best fucking medicine. Like when you actually get a testimonial, you get a text from one of your clients, one of your students, that you feel how much you've helped them grow and evolve. There's no better feeling in the world. Yeah. And once I think that's the greatest space to be in, is like really in a place of being in service and being connected to your purpose. You know, and I think like we were talking earlier, I think the most dangerous thing, and so many men are lacking now, is actually living in purpose. We have so many people who are just a slave to the system. They're slave to a 9-to-5 job that they fucking hate because they're operating from this fear-based mentality, right? But once you actually lean into your unique gifts and your story and your struggle, which is exactly what you've done, bro, like literally by the book, you went through your own struggle, you transmuted your pain into purpose, and now you're helping others go on that same journey. Yeah. And that's fucking dope.
Yeah, it's super fulfilling. My whole day is structured that way at this point. The whole thing is like just super dialed in. And I think the higher you go in those directions too, the even greater purpose you have, the stronger reason why to execute on these things. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't break on the streak at this point. I have too many people I would let down. I'm not letting my community down. I'm not letting anybody down. I'm doing this. Yes, is it for myself? For sure, but it's not even. It's like if I mess this up, then everybody else has a gateway to fuck up as well. So it's like, man, it's pretty crazy, honestly.
Yeah. It's cool to have that level of accountability too. Yeah. Right? Where it's like, hey, I want to embody the best version of myself. Yes, for me, and also for the people counting on me. Yeah. And like when I've been going through the most challenging dark days, the days where I don't feel like getting out of bed, it's remembering my purpose and remembering the people that are counting on me to show up. Yeah. That helps get me out of bed and still take action regardless of how I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. You know, and I imagine it's the same thing for you. Like selfishly, I'm curious to know, like waking up at 4 a.m., mm-hmm. what is kind of like the first part of your day look like? Because
I wake up at 5 at this point. Oh, keep
from what I observe, like you're fucking dialed in, like to you, the business, your growth right now. It seems like you are very fucking laser focused from what I see. Like it doesn't look like you're necessarily like going out, like craving like social interaction, like
minimally. No, like, well, I mean, I get a lot of interaction, but it's mainly with clients and coaching and my team. But I do make it a priority to be out. So I'm very fortunate I could take one-on-one calls while I'm walking around Miami. So it's like I am very often out in public. So I do think having interaction is important for sure. I think dudes get in this lock-in mode where they're just in their room at a keyboard, like just like locked in. I mean, there's benefits to that, but I do think you should be socializing at the same time to some extent. But yeah, so I guess back to your question though. So the very beginning of my day, I wake up, I'll just cook some eggs.
At 5 a.m.?
5 a.m.,
okay,
yeah.
So you go
wake up, go straight to the eggs. 6 eggs, no salt, no seasoning, nothing. I'll just have plain eggs.
What do you cook them in?
A little bit of butter. I have ghee.
Nice.
Yeah, a little bit of 6 eggs with ghee. Recently, I pulled back the salt. I used to have the salt too. I noticed that it's like, when you just try to get even more dialed in, there's really not much more shit you can do to make it even more uncomfortable.
Yeah, like more.
And so now I'm just looking for like these like 1% where I was like, you know what, if I take the salt away, there's actually like even less dopamine. And you could just fully look at this thing from a gratitude appreciation standpoint of this is like solely food that I'm putting in my body. And I'm grateful and appreciative of this. And this one meal is just fuel to put me into optimal state so I could hit the highest frequencies possible, so I could give back the most love and value to the world today. Right. So that's like one of the first things I do. I wake up. Actually, I text my mom and I text that, I don't know if I should say her name. I text that girl that was here a week ago. And I just start the day off with just giving out some love. Just like, good morning, I love you. That's it. I'll text my team too. I'll say, good morning, let's fucking go. So that's the first thing I do.
How many people are on your team?
Well, I don't text the whole team. I text like my coaches and shit. But I'll text my head coach like right in the morning, text my girl, text my mom and my family. Just start that off, go down, cook, a little bit of prayer. And then I'll go right to the gym. That's it. I got the gym right in the apartment. I'll hit 30 minutes on incline treadmill just to get a little bit of a sweat going and consume some type of motivational content just to put me in the right headspace. Sometimes I'll also answer the DMs inside my community too. So like I'm consuming the content and I'm walking and I reply to all the DMs inside the school community as well in the morning. Then I'll just go right into my workout. You want to hear the whole routine or what are you asking?
No. I just wanted to get kind of like some of the non-negotiables for you.
Yeah, the non-negotiables, the wake up time.
Yeah.
The workout in the morning, like hitting the gym every single day, non-negotiable. Hitting the wake up time, non-negotiable. Doing the daily reflection. I'll give you a brief overview without going like super in depth, but yeah, it's the workout. It's like sending love to the world. To me, that's my family, my friends, and my loved ones. Then it's hitting the workout and answering the messages in the community. Right after that, I go outside and I film like a 10-minute video for my side channel, Coach Kyle Raw. And that's always around whatever I've been experiencing in the last 24 hours about my mindset, self-talk, gratitude, confidence, business. I mean, I'm constantly talking to people in my community, so I understand what the audience wants to hear. I'm just talking about relevant concepts in terms of value there. And then I go into my daily reflection. I was kind of talking about that earlier. It's like I'm tracking how the previous day went. What was the wins? Acknowledging the wins. What were the regrets from yesterday? What could I do differently today to prevent those regrets from happening again today? And then having a prayer, some type of prayer, gratitude, appreciation for the day, framing today as an opportunity to put in the work, to hit my goals, to really become the individual that I desire, that could, again, be at the highest frequency possible to put out the most value and love back to the world for the betterment of humanity. I keep going back to that phrase because when you can look at the day as an opportunity to do that, and everything you do is under that scope, you look at your food differently. You look at your vices differently. You look at the way you communicate with people differently. You look at you being on the onboarding call with an annoying ass client who the old me would get triggered and pissed off at and want to curse this dude out, but just see that this dude needs love and care and not diving into anger, right? And I'm really big on this frequency chart. And are you familiar with frequency chart?
Consciousness.
Yeah. So I just put a module about that in my program, and I'm breaking down the chart, and I tell guys that like the breaking point is that in between anger, it goes anger, and then below that is desire, and below that is fear. And if you can be aware, if you're about to tap into any of those, you're going into lower frequency. But if you could sit in that moment and say, instead of going into those, you could look at pride and courage, which are the emotions right above those two.
They're in like the 200s.
Yeah, if I think that's really the breaking point. It's like you could either go into some sort of a desire, which would be any kind of a vice or some type of food or some type of lust or some type of comfort thing, or you could go into fear, which is like avoiding the world in one extent or another, or you could go into anger, which is like getting triggered and spreading some sort of negativity. Those are all the actions that are going to lower your frequency for the day. And so when I'm faced with these situations, if you choose to go into pride and courage, meaning courage means you don't back down from the fear. You face the fear head on. You attack that shit. Pride is you're prideful of your goals for the day. You take pride in that shit, man. I tell this to my clients every single day. I'm like a broken record on my live calls because people just need reminders I'm going to beat this into your brain every day because I need it too. But you need clarity on what your goals are for this week. You need structure, but more importantly, you gotta have pride in your goals. So many dudes are afraid or embarrassed to tell their friends, their family, what are your goals? So many of the clients are like, yeah, I was on point, and then my family went on this vacation, or I was on point and then I went out with my friends and then they wanted to drink and I gave in, or they invited me out and I caved in on my diet. All of those things just come from lack of having pride and courage. If you were courageous enough and prideful enough of what your goals were and you stated it to them and you didn't back down from those things, you'd still be on point. You would still hit your goals.
Yeah.
And I say that, I'm not going to go on a crazy rant here, but I genuinely think if everybody could just hit the action items that they laid out for themselves that day and didn't turn to the vices, and you could do that every day, 188 days in a row, you would be a completely different person. And even just one day of doing that, you'll be at such a higher frequency by the end of the day. It's hard to be negative by the end of the day, man.
Facts.
And so back to your question about the routine, the whole routine is designed to put me into the highest frequency so I could deliver as much value throughout the entire day to raise my frequency. And then I have the last hour, 2 or 3 at the end of the day to spread the love back to my family. And whether that's my girl, whether that's a FaceTime with my mom, whether that's spending time with my clients. And if nothing else, I'll get on another live Q&A at the end of the day. I'll just go live at the end of the day. Like, hey guys, I got nothing else going on. Let me just give back some more love and value. I'm not even going to sales pitch you nothing. Like, just give me it.
Comment LFG.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that's all really powerful and useful shit, because the number one way to cultivate confidence in yourself is by keeping the promises to yourself.
That's all it is, man.
You know, like
the whole thing.
Make a commitment. Hey, I'm going to wake up this time. I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to remove these harmful habits and toxic behaviors. And once you start to actually build consistency with that, you start to cultivate love for yourself.
Yep.
And that love will be felt by other people because, like you mentioned, you're elevating your vibration. And here's the thing, you can't fake a frequency, right? Like, people can feel when you are operating from fear. People can feel when you're operating from guilt and shame, right? You can see just by the way someone walks or sits or by the way that they carry themselves. And yeah, man, it's the most important shit. And like going back, you know, when I would visit California during COVID, they took that shit to the next level, right? Like, they're the most woke fucking state. And I just remember, bro, this is like 2023. COVID is done at this point. All right. You don't need to wear a mask outside. You don't need to like just be so scared of interacting with another human. But what I noticed in that state was so many people were still operating from that frequency of fear.
Yeah.
And like, those are the people that actually get sick.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're literally attracting what you're embodying. And if you're embodying fucking fear, that's exactly what you're calling in. If you're embodying that frequency of like love and gratitude and joy, you're also going to call that shit in. you know?
Yeah.
And that's basically like what you're fucking teaching. And you're right. Like you need to repeat that message
every day,
constantly.
every day. And you said it, well, you said, I liked what you said. You had a bar in there. You said you can't fake the frequency.
Yeah.
But I like that. But I mean, back to the self-talk and the confidence, man. It's like, if you're not doing the non-negotiables every day and you're giving into your bad habits, your desires, your fears, the anger, your body knows that. Your subconscious knows that. You can't talk yourself into confidence when you didn't hit your wake up time, when you told yourself you were going to get up at 6 a.m. and the alarm clock went off and you snoozed it and you went back to bed. And then when you told yourself you were done smoking the weed and then your boy offered you the joint and you gave into the weed. And then you were horny that one night, you turned on the porn and you shouldn't have been watching the porn, or you gave into that cheat meal, or you just weren't productive that day. Then when you go out to talk to the girl or whatever the other thing is, if you're trying to convince yourself that you're somebody, your subconscious knows. It's like, no, pussy. Like you didn't hit the wake up time today. Like you can't trick that. So the only way, in my opinion, to really create true core confidence is to stack the day with the actions that if at the end of the day you could look back and you're like, yo, I did all of these things.
Right.
Like, fuck yeah. Like that's an accomplishment. And you do that day after day after day. And after each task completed, you need to manually inject the positive self-talk.
Yeah.
We've all been wired by society to seek the reactions to give us the self-talk. I got the girl, she thinks I'm attractive. That means I'm confident. I didn't get the job. That means I'm a loser, right? My dad yelled at me. I must suck. It's always reaction-based self-talk. And what I tell guys in the program is, look, if you're doing that, you inevitably will fail, because on the path to greatness in anything, there's going to be a period of time where the external world is not giving you the reaction that you want. You're going to have to grind, and there's going to be that valley of despair period where I'm not seeing the result right now. And if you're focused on the reaction-based self-talk, you're fucked. And so the only thing you could do is action-based goals on a daily basis and reward yourself with that positive self-talk to build up that relationship with you. The way you talk to yourself is the relationship you have with yourself. And if you're not manually injecting it, it's just the negatives.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, the words that we tell ourselves. What was that bar that you just said?
Which part?
The words that we tell ourselves.
The way we talk to ourselves develops the relationship we have with ourselves.
Right.
The relationship we have with ourselves is our level of confidence.
Real quick, just because so many of you have been asking me about microdosing, I wanted to let you know that we just launched a very special opportunity for you to start your microdosing journey for just $222 per month. This includes the microdoses being shipped to you, and it also includes live coaching with me every single week and access to the best content that's going to help you defeat your anxiety, defeat your ADHD naturally, and escape big pharma forever. So if you are ready to tap in to deeper levels of focus, flow state, and presence, this is your sign to start your microdosing journey today. There's no long-term commitment. You can literally try it for 30 days and witness how your life transforms. Now, let's get back to the show. I'm curious to know, like, in your community, at this point, you've been working with a lot of clients and students over the last 5 years. I'm curious to know, like, especially recently, as you grow your school community, what do you see as like the top 2 or 3 pain points for people joining? Is it really just like this lack of discipline with their habits? Is it like they're a slave to jerking off and watching porn? Like, if you could boil it down to 1 or 2 things, what would you say men in 2024 are struggling with the most?
It's interesting because, like, I have a old following that have been watching me for 4, 5, 6 years, and they know me from the pickup stuff. I have new guys who've come into my page recently, and they just know me from being disciplined, dialed in, no vices, working out, being punctual, like all of those things. And so it's interesting because I can get on an onboarding call. The moment you join the program, you get a 30-minute one-on-one onboarding call with me too in the school community. So the moment I jump on that call, I can already tell what content this dude's been following.
Right.
Straight up.
Yeah.
You know, or it's a combination. I could talk to the dude and just like based off of his vibe, his appearance, and what he's done so far in the community leading up to our onboarding call, I already know where he's at because I take these calls nonstop. And so I have a variety. There's a lot of dudes who will follow me because they just want to get better with their social confidence. They want to go out and talk to girls, and that part of their life hasn't been handled, or it could just be, they feel like it could just be better. Like some of these dudes are good looking, cool dudes, and they even get women, but they probably get it from social circle or online, and they're just like, Kyle, I have the success, I have this, but I still just can't go up to a girl I'm attracted to, and I want to get that one thing handled for myself. There's guys like that, and then there's everything in between. I guess really in one way or another, dudes lack discipline.
Right.
That's the one conclusion from it. Even if you're the good looking dude who can't go up and approach the girl, you don't have structure and consistency and the discipline to go out and practice that skill set incrementally on a daily basis.
Couple questions. So when you typically go out on these walks where you approach people, how long do you go for? Is it an hour usually? Or?
Well, I'll take onboarding calls while I'm just walking around Miami.
Right.
So
but when you're filming shit, how is it?
Those,
do you have like I'm curious
quick.
to know just from from someone who also like creates and films shit.
Yeah.
Do you have like a 2-hour window each day where it's like, yo, this is dedicated to creating content, like putting some of my ideas into fruition? Is there like a template that you have for that? Or is it kind of like when you have time in between calls?
So there was a time when I was doing that. I stopped filming with the glasses.
You did?
Yeah, I don't do that anymore. Because in my opinion, well, number one,
I just got the glasses too, bro. I brought them. I was hoping that you would help me set up.
I'll help you set it up. What you mean? I got you. You could have mine. I would have brought them for you. But I stopped filming with them for a couple of different reasons. Number one, my account's too big at this point. Literally the last 6 videos I posted, the girl found out and is saying it's illegal because technically in Florida, you need 2-way consent to film and post. And my account's just too big at this point. The moment that the video hits beyond 300, 500K, I'm getting a message. There's never been any legal things that actually happen, but most of these women want it taken down. And honestly, I think it's kind of unethical at this point. I feel like I've already milked that so much. Like my account's at 1 million. Like, do I really need to keep blasting that? I don't think so. I'd rather change my messaging so it's super aligned with the betterment of humanity. And I have enough of those videos, guys. If you want to see how to talk to girls, there's fucking 400 videos on my YouTube channel. Just like go watch any of those videos. I don't need to keep filming that stuff. I'm at a place right now where I just want to put out the content that resonates with me the most, that I feel like would really make a change with men. And I don't need to put someone else's identity involved in it for that because of where it's already at.
Didn't your account dude, I'm pretty sure I was following you when you had like 70K, but that wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah. So
when did it pretty much like?
It was at 175.
When?
I was at steady 150 to 175K for like the last 6 months. And then in August, a client of mine started posting the POV glasses and his account started taking off. And he was literally he wasn't even doing anything that crazy. He was literally doing module 1 of what's in my program, which is you're going to walk around and just give out greetings and compliments in passing. And he started posting this content. And the views are just going insane. And I can't even lie. I was getting triggered and pissed off because I was like, I just spent 6 years diving so deep into the skill set to like, in my opinion, a masterful level and really going out and trying to film like the most expertise, nuanced, niche thing.
Right.
Just to teach thousands of men to bring it back to a place where it's like, okay, how can I break this down to a client? Let me just show him what the most basic step is step 1. And he's going out and doing that first step and he's just getting like insane reach. And I found myself starting to get pissed off about it initially. And then my head coach, who was coaching him one-on-one, he started doing it too. And then his account started going viral too. And I remember at first I was actually reluctant. I caught myself actually like getting pissed off about it. And then I was like, you know what? I could get mad about this or I could just like accept this trend and get on the wave, and also inject my own creativity into. I don't necessarily need to replicate them. I've been putting out enough content over the last 6 years. I know what my audience wants to see. And so I took those concepts and then I made my own spin on them. And I told myself, I was like, I'm going to do this for 100 days, no matter what. Let's just put your head down, shut the fuck up. Let's just do it for 100 days, see what happens. Like, stop bitching. Or I was like literally telling this to myself. And first video I put out hit 6 million. And then second video did like 5 million. And then, and those weren't even that good. What?
I was going to say like when I saw the videos, it was really interesting because I was like, I do this shit every day.
Exactly.
Like I'm just like always like, I'm just always saying what's up to people, complimenting people. And I'm like, this guy was just filming it and it's getting like, it's going so viral.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I guess it's because one of the reasons, because so many people struggle with social anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And it's like so many people are operating from fear of rejection and they're operating from like their own insecurities. And I was also going to ask you just about this because I feel like dating in 2024 has become very weird, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially when you're in the online space, especially when you have a following, especially when you live in a place like Miami. Yeah. It's like we live in a world that's so digital that the actual art of human connection has been lost. Mm-hmm. And I think that's also probably a reason why your content was resonating with people, because they're like, oh, wow, this guy actually talks to other humans. I haven't seen that shit in a while. So like, how have you navigated that? And I'm sure as your platform has like exponentially grown in the last 6-12 months, you've also been receiving lots of shit coming your way in the field, right? So how have you personally navigated all of that while also staying super fucking committed to your vision?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was definitely a period where I got caught up in the massive dopamine spikes of going insanely viral every single day and watching my account literally going up like 70,000 followers per 24 hours.
That's wild, bro.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
As you can imagine, it's like, I mean, it wasn't like that every single day, but there was days where it was going up 50K, 60K, 70K, 30K, 20K, 10K, right? For I think in 1 month, was it 1 month? I think it was in a 3-week span, I gained 600,000 in 3 weeks. Yeah. So I went from 175 to like 750 in August. And I just found myself getting like so consumed with it. I was just hyper focused on that element for a very long time. But the justification I had in my mind was like, okay, this is like just such insane reach. I need to put all my focus into this because this could get me to a way higher level long term. And so it was justified, but I went through that. And then once I hit a certain point, I was just kind of like over it. I was like, okay, like I have a big enough account at this point. Like when does this end? Do I just like stay focused on these numbers and all that shit? And it's not about any of that, honestly, at the end of the day. So at some point I found myself getting back to the work and removing myself from that. And what I noticed was that once it came back to helping other people and stop being about me and the numbers and the validation and the likes and the views, which by the way, all those views did not even equate to more business. Like people would think that you have all of those more views that suddenly you're going to be like multimillionaire. It's like, no, for an organic audience, for men's confidence, it takes 6 to 12 months of nurturing an organic audience for a B2C offer, especially when I was doing a high ticket offer. So it was like my sales actually went down that month because I was just focused on massive reach. But I think I'm getting a little outside the scope of the question. So
all good, bro. That's the whole purpose of these long form conversations. We just get to riff and fucking flow, and whatever comes out, dude.
Yeah. So I did get lost in the IG stuff for quite a while. And then I found myself, it just kind of reconfirmed everything I'm talking about here, because once I really went back to just putting in the work and really just hitting the routine and doing all the other non-negotiables, I just felt better. Yeah. And I noticed I was impacting more people too. And so over time, I got lost in it for about a month, that month of August, and then I got over it. And then over the last 2 months, there was all these different experiences with these women that I would film to the point where if I meet any girl and then if there's any girl I meet out and I get her Instagram, I typically get a DM. I hope you weren't recording that interaction. I didn't give you my consent. And I was like, no, like I just came up to you. I thought you were attractive. Like, but you know, you actually lose a lot in terms of the dating. Back to your question, like, yeah, when you have like 10 plus clips on your grid that are all like 20 plus million, and they're all you talking to women and getting phone numbers and stuff, like you lose a lot of trust, as you can imagine, off of just having a 5-minute interaction on the street in Miami where these other clips are taken. So I don't think, in terms of dating with that profile and being that guy, yeah, you lose a lot of trust. And I could see that being a big conflict. Ironically, now that I'm kind of moving away from that content, I teach motivational stuff. I got girls DMing me now, like replying to the content, and it really resonates with them. And there was even a girl that was in the community for a little while. I actually had to remove her out of the community. I turned it strictly for men, but yeah, it's just interesting that when you put out certain content, how the world reacts in different ways, and me just getting lost in the content and the algorithm for quite a while.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I was in like 2021, 2022, I was hyper focused on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I have like 1.4 million followers there.
Yeah.
And the videos that started taking off, bro, were like the most unexpected videos.
That's how it is. Yeah.
It was literally responding to a comment from a previous video. And I said something in the video about elevating your vibration.
Yeah.
And someone asked, like, I said, like, eating foods that are high vibration.
Yeah.
And someone commented, like, what are high vibration foods? So I literally went into the supermarket and I was like, all right, these are low vibration foods. It's like Doritos, Coca-Cola,
yeah.
like shit like that.
Yeah.
And the video just fucking exploded. I was like people really aren't aware, like that food has energy and high quality food is higher vibration. And then I kept doing shit in grocery stores and they kept just taking off. I was just like exposing shitty ingredients and trying to educate people on like healthy nutrition. And I was playing to the algorithm after a while because like I knew that shit was hitting, and people would actually like recognize me in like airports or out in public, and they called me the grocery store guy. And I was like, yo, dog, yo, like I'm passionate about food and nutrition, but I do not want to be fucking called the grocery store guy. That is not me. Please, please. I want to remove this identity. But I think that's just a testament to like realigning with what feels authentic. Yeah. Because people feel that at the end of the day, like in the world we're living in, where everyone has a platform, everyone is selling shit online, it's really all about authenticity. That's what's going to separate you and I from the rest of the pack, is us really tapping into our truth and creating from that space, because people feel that shit. People can feel when someone's full of shit, and people can also feel when someone's actually living in alignment and they're on that journey of becoming their most authentic self, and they're sharing that. And I think that's why you're having a lot of success, because like you're really feeling and navigating like, hey, what actually feels right? Like what's the shit that actually I feel is going to bring the most value and people are going to resonate with, that also feels aligned to my truth. And as soon as you get disconnected from that, that's when shit starts to go wrong. Yeah.
But you kind of have to get lost in it a little bit. Like it sounds like you did it too.
Yeah.
And that's been my journey in every element. I go too far. I find something, I go too far into the thing.
Yeah, I love that though. I love your intensity, bro.
Yeah.
So going back to so you give one-on-one calls on 30-minute one-on-one call to everyone who joins the $125 per month school community. Yeah. Which is fucking amazing, by the way.
Insane offer.
Insane offer.
Like literally, I'm so proud of the offer. I think I have the best offer in the world. I'm not even exaggerating. 'Cause there's nobody that's working like me.
Well, you know what's really like, so I have a $222 community. We have like 200 people in it.
Dope.
And my mindset about it is like, how can I actually pull myself out of this so I'm not as involved? Yeah. Right. So like I used to do like 3 morning calls, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 30-minute calls. Yeah. And I scaled it back to like, I'm hosting 3 calls a month. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And when I saw you and like the offer, I was like, damn, this motherfucker's just like going all in. Cause they, you know, they talk a lot about like removing yourself from the business.
Yeah,
like,
see, that's the problem. I always hire these high ticket business coaches that are all about delegation and removal, because I guess that's appealing to everybody else. It's like, get paid to not do shit, you know? That's why it's appealing, but keep going.
So that actually, like when I was just scoping that out last night or the other night, I was like, damn, this motherfucker's really going all in on bringing as much value to his community as possible.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking inspiring, because it showed me where I can show up in a more powerful way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What is your retention like? Like how long are the average people staying in the community? Do you have, is it too early to kind of know
It's kind of too early to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I know that the influx versus the dropout is like very big in my favor. Yeah. And not only that, I'm creating an army of dudes that are just not going to give up. And I even tell them that on the onboard call at the end of so it's a 30-minute one-on-one with me. At the end of the call, I actually give them my cell phone too. You have my cell phone number too. God forbid,
Really?
Emergency call me. I don't give a fuck.
Oh, wow.
There's a daily live coaching call with me every single day at a variety of different times, depending on your schedule. I tell them, no matter what, you're coming to at least one call a week. I don't care which call it is. Tap in with me on the call. I want to know what's going on. So before you even get on the onboarding call with me, you go through the blueprint module where you're going to write out your goals, your weight, your diet, your wake up time, your vices. What do you want to accomplish in the first 30 days in the program? And then you need to create your Google Calendar with all of these action items. All right. So everybody comes onto the onboarding call with their blueprint already created. And then I just go through that and talk them through that. I have content based around each one of those goals and sticking points. And then I craft it with them. I give them a little bit of coaching on that call. There's a little bit of time for Q&A. We pick out, I set deadlines for them over the upcoming week of when they're going to have these goals by. They're going to post this thing by this time. If you have any questions, you DM me directly in the community. You're coming to at least one of these calls. And then I tell every single dude at the end of the call, I say, listen, there isn't somebody else in this world right now that's going this hard, giving you this much coaching and this much accountability for this price point. If you're thinking about quitting, if you're thinking about dropping out, just call me. I will get on another one-on-one with you. I'll get you back on track. I don't give a fuck. It's $100. You spent this on fucking food, drugs, nicotine, alcohol, clothes to impress your friends that don't give a fuck about you. Going on a date with a girl that doesn't even want to be with you, I'm fucking here for you, dude. There is no excuse. You're not quitting. I literally tell them, listen to me, you're not canceling this program. I literally tell them that on the one-on-one call. But the thing is, they need to hear that shit.
Yeah.
And I think, and if it's true, because they've never had somebody who showed up in their life for them that way. And then on every coaching call, I'm not just lecturing. You're on my Q&A. And you're not leaving the call without typing a 1 in the chat so you could get into the queue so you could tell me what's going on in your week right now in correlation to the goals we set up for you. So everybody on the Q&A, and by the way, my community's big. I'll have 40, 50 dudes on the call. I'm not ending the call until I speak to every single person in here.
Really?
100%, every call.
How long are those calls?
I don't know, they'll go at least 2 hours if I need to. Sometimes it's not that long.
And that's every day?
Every day.
And are you also getting content from those calls?
Not even.
No.
Not even. I used to do that, but I don't even need to do that.
Yeah.
I don't, because all I do is do the onboardings and I'm checking with every single person. They're feeding me the content. I'm just coaching them and it's this loop and I go through my perfect routine and then I see where everybody's going wrong and I just make the content off of those things.
Yeah.
So it's a constant feedback loop of me going through it, going to the highest vibration frequency, dealing with these dudes nonstop all day, coaching them, and then I know exactly what to say on the content that's just going to hit them.
Yeah, dude, I'm grateful.
And
yeah,
at the end of the 30 days, just to tie back to the offer, if you are anything less than blown away, full refund, no questions asked, no fine print, no contract. You can try out the program 1 month for free. And if you don't like my beard at the end of the month, I'll refund you.
Yeah.
There's no reason you can't. I really think the program is for every single person in this world.
Yeah. Dude, that's fucking dope.
Straight up, yeah.
Yeah, bro. Like good shit, bro. First of all, like that's like a commitment that I feel like I haven't really witnessed.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, I got lost in the coaching and the delegation and the being pissed off and annoyed that I had to do more live calls. And because I've gone through that process. I've been running live Q&As since since 2019, 2-3 times a week. I would always run those calls. And there was a point in my journey where it just came back to me being selfish and wanting more desires for myself. And I think by really diving into having discipline and removing the bullshit vices and all of those things, you start to detach from those things, and it becomes more about raising your frequency. And in the highest frequencies, you just want to give back love, value, and happiness to everybody else. So it becomes, that's what I was saying earlier in the call, it's like, it becomes less about you. And the more and more I start coaching people, the more tapped in I get throughout the day. So it's either I'm eating clean or I'm working out hard to get in the right headspace for the day. And then it's either content or coaching calls or live streams or podcasts to just really spread the word to positively influence every single person out there. Because it also makes me feel the best simultaneously. It's the biggest impact, while I guess selfishly, I don't even know if it's selfish. It's kind of weird. It's this weird paradigm.
I think as humans, I think we're actually wired for service and contribution. Yeah. There's something that just feels so amazing and incredible about making a positive impact on someone's life. Yeah. And it sometimes just takes the smallest thing, bro. It's like a text message to an old friend or a voice note to a loved one, or just asking someone how they're feeling, how they're doing. Like showing up in that way and being fully present in a world that's so distracted and always too busy, I think is the ultimate unlock to more fulfillment and more joy.
100%. Because I'm telling you, if you actually removed all your vices, you hit your wake up time, you ate clean as fuck, you put in that hard workout, and then you spent 8 to 14 plus hours putting out love and value and just helping people, you'll be vibing so hard by the end of the day. Then you go to your significant other, you go to your family, you go on a date, you go hang out with your friends. It's really hard to not be grateful and appreciative and have love.
By the way, bro, I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Let's keep it going, bro.
No, we're gonna keep it going. You're a fucking homie. I knew my intuition knew that we would vibe well. So dude, it's so important too. Like, I was just talking to my boy Thor, who's visiting me from Norway. It's so important, I think, for men to actually have homies and brothers that they can really have these types of conversations with. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, so much of my journey was like just me doing it on my own and feeling so alone in the process. Mm-hmm. So I think having other growth-oriented leaders to connect with and have real raw conversations with is so essential for every man. Yeah. We have like a loneliness epidemic.
You need an outlet, dude. That's what I'm saying. You're not getting off of my live call until you verbalize publicly to everyone on this call what the fuck is going on in your life, dude. What were your regrets from last week? What are your goals for this week? What are we going to do differently this week and by when? What's the deadline? What's the start date? When you speak it out loud. If there's no reflection, there's no accountability, there's no structure, and you're not reporting this to someone, like you don't take pride in your goal to say this shit out loud, it gets swept under the rug. I talked about this. I wanted to be a rapper in my 20s, bro. Like before transitioning. You got
some flow?
Got some flow for sure. It's been a long time, but I wanted to be a rapper, and I lacked the confidence. I had the flow, I had the lyrics, I couldn't put it out there, and I didn't have the pride and the courage in what my goals were. And over time, your brain will just sweep it under the rug when there's no accountability or structure, really. And so I'm really big on saying out loud what the goals are, dude, and tracking that shit.
I want to talk just a little bit, bro.
Let's go.
About mushrooms and psychedelics.
Of course. I thought we were going to be talking about that the whole time, bro.
Nah. This is just, here's the thing. Like people, what's funny is like a lot of people probably join your community because they're like, yo, I want to pull more bitches. I want to get more confident talking to girls, right? But when they come in the community, they're actually getting so much more than that. They're actually getting a blueprint to become a better version of themselves, which therefore is going to actually allow them to open up all those other pathways, right? A lot of people join my community because they're like microdosing, like I want to tap into this medicine that you're talking about all the time. And then when they come in, they realize it's actually so much more than that. It's really about like rebuilding the relationship with yourself. It's about remembering who you are. It's about activating your inner child. It's about reprogramming your subconscious. It's about connecting with community. It's about all of these things. One of the things that, I think mushrooms have a beautiful way of doing when you do them like with intention is they actually remind you that you're the medicine, right? Like you don't necessarily need to keep chasing things externally to feel whole and complete. You can actually connect with your most authentic essence and intelligence and become that version of yourself. So I think there's like some overlap there. And I'm curious to know, because you mentioned like you had a couple experiences with psychedelics when you were younger that didn't go so well. Could you just explain those a little more?
Of course. First time I ever did it, I was 19 years old in a college dorm. And that was a fun experience, actually. I probably did like a half-eighth or maybe a little bit more than that.
Okay.
And we gave it like 2 hours. We went out onto campus. We smoked a blunt. Everybody's giggly. I wasn't crazy tripping, but I was definitely tripping. And it was a cool experience. It was fun.
Where'd you go to school?
I did a year at East Stroudsburg in Pennsylvania. ESU.
What's it called?
ESU, East Stroudsburg.
Never heard of that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Did 1 year there. I pretty much just smoked weed and bullshitted. Dropped out, went back home to my mom's basement, started going to community college. But that was the first time I did it. And then I dabbled a couple more times with my friends. And then at one of those next three was just a bad experience. It wasn't like I was in like some crazy other world, but it was a bad experience. Like it was not enjoyable by any means. And honestly, I was a young teenager. I didn't understand any of it. There was zero intention. There was nothing. It was just another drug to get high off of. And, something triggered me and who knows what happened. And then I did it one other time. And again, it wasn't a good experience. And so for that reason, I found myself getting away from that stuff. And 10 years later, after I had gone through that whole journey that we were talking about, when I was almost 30, I was in a much different headspace. And so I did a microdose a couple times and it was better. And I just never wanted to go back to it because of how bad that one experience was. Like to me, it didn't justify gambling, risking it. So I just never really went back to it after that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe, I'm definitely going to gift you one of our chocolates. So in a conscious way, but it's interesting too, even just using the terms good and bad, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's the bad experiences, the negative experiences, the challenging experiences, the painful experiences in our life that actually lead to the most growth and that lead to the biggest transformation. So what I've realized is a lot of people who use the term like bad trip, what they're referring to is oftentimes they take mushrooms, they start feeling a lot of feelings and emotions that they've suppressed, right? Whether it's anger, whether it's pain, guilt, shame, whatever. And now they're being like faced with it. They're being forced to sit with it. And that can be fucking scary and overwhelming if your entire life you've just numbed yourself and you've escaped actually being with your feelings and emotions. So I think there's a certain dynamic where that is present. And then there's also just like, if you do it and you're around like in a bad environment, like for me doing mushrooms in like this environment is horrible because it's just, there's no nature. There's this park here. So like there's a little sense of nature, but you want to be super intentional with your energy because everything is more sensitive. So like going to the beach, going like in the forest, or just like my events, we just provide that really nice space for people to feel safe. That's the most important thing. Like, I think you might see this in your community too. I think one of the biggest problems and biggest things people have faced is like a lot of people grow up their entire life like never feeling safe to fully express themselves, right? Whether it's communicating clearly, whether it's singing, whether it's dancing, whether it's just being your most authentic self, because whether it was society, school, teachers, parents that dimmed your light in that journey. And I think what's really special about mushrooms, when you do them the right way, they can actually reactivate that part of your soul that has fallen asleep. And it's like, oh shit. Like when I was younger, I really used to love to just do Jim Carrey impersonations. And like, I used to fucking love to just like vibe and play sports and sing. And I forgot about that shit. Like I haven't been allowing myself to have fun and be joyful. And that's one of the cool things about this. It can like reactivate that part of yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. If it was suppressed, you're saying?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, bro. Like you said you played sports, you said soccer, basketball.
Baseball, yeah, those three.
Did you, have you been like tapping into any of that? Like have you hooped recently?
So I was playing ball in my late 20s and I got hurt really badly. Like this calf is actually smaller than my other calf. This big dude fell on the back of my leg, and I went to stand up after, and it was like I was stepping into a black hole. I just fell instantly, even though I pretty much tore my calf and my Achilles. And so, yeah. And then I didn't know at the time. I just thought it was like another bad basketball injury because I've rolled my ankle so many times. But yeah, I took a couple weeks, and then I realized after a couple of weeks, I was like, damn, this thing is still bad. And I was just stubborn at the time. I never got like surgery or anything, even though in hindsight, I definitely needed it. And eventually it healed. Like I'm at a point now where I can fully sprint. My vertical went to shit. I used to be able to grab rim. I can't really jump off of it like the way I used to, but I never went back. I never went back to the court after that to ball. I saw you play ball, right? Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to play more often. I mean, like I live right by Flamingo Park in Miami Beach, dope ass courts. It's just fucking fun, man. Like we were just talking too before this, there's something very special about tapping into that masculine energy of just being fucking competitive, not in like an unhealthy, toxic way, but like, yo, like I'm a fucking killer on the court. I'm going to talk shit. I'm going to fucking lock you up. I'm going to be physical. Like that is something that I think has been lost in our society with men. Like everyone's just trying to make masculinity seem toxic. And I think the world actually needs more healthy masculine energy. Like the shit that we're talking about today is like healthy masculine energy of being grounded in your vision, being grounded in your goals, being grounded in your habits, being grounded with the vision of becoming the best version of yourself so you can actually live on purpose and be in service. Because at the end of the day, the most dangerous type of dude is the dude that's just fucking lost and who doesn't feel that sense of purpose, who doesn't feel that connection to themselves. Yeah. So yeah, bro, we should definitely, if you're open to it, like hoop and get activated.
Yeah, I'm down. I shot the ball recently. Actually, my therapist told me to go to the court to shoot a game of horse with my 7-year-old self. And so I actually just recently did. It was the first time I actually went back onto the court for a while. I did that as like a homework assignment in between sessions, which I thought was pretty interesting. And I mean, it's good. I could definitely play a game. I don't know how competitive I would be. It's been several years, but it'd be cool to step on the court. Let me know.
Yeah, for sure. What do you feel like is kind of your next ambitious goal or venture? Like obviously you're going all in on content, all in on your community and really showing up for them in the most powerful way. Is there anything that comes to mind when it's like, what is exciting you the most about, your 6-month horizon, 12-month horizon, 3-year horizon? Is there anything that you really are just like committed to creating in your life?
I'm not thinking too far beyond the upcoming couple of months, only because my trajectory has changed so radically every like 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
I think it's almost unrealistic to latch onto a bigger goal than that. But I also feel like I'm shifting very quickly, and I don't know if the word's like evolving, but I feel like I'm moving very rapidly at this point. So my short-term goal is to hit 1,000 members in the community. And the moment I do that, I want to throw a massive free event inside of the group. I already have a live event coming up in the upcoming month, but really the goal is to blow up the community and then strengthen the members inside the community, to bring them all together. Because I think that would just help all of them. And then at some point, school is going to release this affiliate program where I could see.
Oh, are they? Fuck.
Yeah, that's coming out very soon. They announced it's going to be out this quarter. So the next thing I see is my coaches and the people at the higher end of the community bringing in other members and giving them an extremely generous affiliate commission where everybody can be bringing people into this thing. It's not even a pickup thing. Like, I would say about 20 to 30% of the community already is already in a relationship. It's not like a bunch of thirsty young dudes. I have a 62-year-old male that's in the relationship. Wow. I have 40s, 50s.
I love that.
Yeah. There's dudes who come in there like, hey, I'm in a relationship. I'm not even trying to like get better with girls, but like your discipline and the way you talk, like I know that this would massively impact my relationship and my business and my brand. And I have dudes that come in just for content. Like, it's crazy. I'm giving so much. I'm giving like advanced high ticket coaching to some of these content creators and like sales coaching that I had to pay like, I mean, I've paid some of these coaches like $30K for mentorship, you know? So I'm just like, dude, I don't even think you understand what I had to pay to even deliver that answer to you. And you're on a Q&A for $100. It's like kind of crazy sometimes, but yeah, it's really just to blow up the community because I have a bunch of influencers in the community already. And I feel like the next level is growth. I see that on the horizon. I mean, a couple months ago, we were at like 200. So I think we're closing in on 600 members right now. And so that's like the 2-3 month goal is hit 1,000, keep the community as alive as possible, bring them all together for free. Cause we do these coaching calls. This vision of mine, I think is so dope. It's us running the live call, but we're all just in person. And then we go around, they share their wins, and then the community just comes around and just floods you with positive self-talk, like in person. And just, I think that would be really dope. So running the in-person live coaching call, connecting with the community further, that's the short-term goal, I guess, within the business. It's that, strengthening the relationships that I have. The goals that I have financially have shifted. I still want to make more money, but I see myself making more money as a means of being able to give back so much more. When the community's making more money, I could do so much more shit for them. When I make more money, I want to give my mom a stupid amount of money. I want to be able to give my sister a stupid amount of money. I want to be able to pay my coach. My coaches make really good money considering their age and what their job is, but like I want to do that on an even bigger scale and give back. I give back to the community as is. Like I give away $5K every month just to the community itself. So it's growing the community, building the business and the brand to make also more money, but that just allows me to have more influence to give back even more.
I think that's so important, bro. What you mentioned is like, I've had to navigate certain limiting beliefs around money in my own life.
Yeah.
You know, just because my parents' relationship with money.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's going to obviously impact my experience. And when you understand that money is just energy and it's just an avenue to actually create more impact, it's hard to help a lot of people if you're fucking broke.
Right.
So the narrative that like money is the root of all evil, or like money is this thing that is just a mechanism to buy all this material shit, I think that narrative is outdated. And I think more people are stepping into the realization that, hey, you know, I have big dreams, big ambitions, big visions to help a fuck ton of people. And the best way that I can do that is by taking care of myself and continue building this wealth so I'm able to just provide more and not be stressed about it.
100%. Because
being stressed financially, bro, is really tough. And that impacts the way that you're going to show up in the world. I've been there.
100% accurate. And it's also the same analogy with love. If you don't take care of the same way that you need to build yourself up to be able to give the money back, you need to be able to build yourself up and remove all of those things. So your self-talk and your self-love is so high that you can now, from a selfless place, give out the love. It's the same exact metaphor with money and with love, in my opinion. Both of them require a lot of work to build it up to a certain point, but the higher it goes, the less it's about you. It's about being able to give it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm curious to know too, like, one of the things that I think has manifested in the last 10 years in our society, especially in America, is it's been this combination of toxic masculinity and the feminist movement.
Yeah.
Right. And what I think this has led to is way more feminine dudes and way more masculine women. And I don't know if you noticed this, and it's a very interesting and confusing dynamic because I think there's so many women who have like taken on this role of like, yo, I'm a boss bitch. I don't need a man. I'm going to make my money. I'm going to just be independent. And then there's dudes who are like scared to actually be in their masculine because they don't want to be called toxic, right? And it's a very interesting dynamic that I think has made dating also very confusing, right? Because, and I don't know if you see this a lot in your community, but it's like, there's a lot of masculine women in the world. And like, in my opinion, you can be a super attractive, like super physically attractive woman, but if you're very much so in your masculine energy, like you don't have like that softness, that ability to receive, that ability to like be in flow and be connected to your body, then it removes a lot of the attraction. Because I think like every masculine feminine relationship requires this level of polarity. Right. Like, hey, I'm the masculine. I'm going to show up in a powerful way and provide that sense of security financially, physically, emotionally. And on the other side of the spectrum, there's like that feminine energy that's like nurturing and it's soft and it's like caring. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like we need that blend for us to really connect in that deep way. So I'm curious to know like your thoughts on that and what you see in your world.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I mean, I agree that it is like a yin and yang, obviously, when it comes to the masculine and the feminine. So I'm so focused on coaching men and just assuming the responsibility. And I really think that it's just on you at the end of the day. And I think if you are disciplined enough and as a dude, I really think some of these women, if they were around that masculine energy enough, like they would, I guess, submit or kind of conform more into that. And it's both, right? Like obviously, but I do think, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's not the best perspective, but I just think it's, as a man, it's on you. You have the responsibility. You got to put in the work. You got to become that guy. And then you will get a girl that will submit to that. Like, that's just always been my perspective. Is that like the dude? It's the dude's responsibility. Are there masculine women that have been messed up in society and stuff? Yeah, I guess so. But I don't know. I don't see how that kind of like serves us. I don't like to look at external things as excuses or reasons to point fingers. I just assume full responsibility because it's the only thing you have control over. Right. Everything else is an excuse and it's somewhere else. All you can focus on is you, what you have control over, what you're putting in your body or not putting in your body, the actions you do on a daily basis. And when you're doing those things properly, you should be able to attract a girl. And if she sees value in you over time, she should conform to that lifestyle, in my opinion. Right. There's an art to it. I mean, it's a detailed situation.
It's also very present in Miami, right? Because Miami has this energy where, like, obviously there's a lot of attractive people, and in that process too, I feel like most women have had some sort of traumatic experience connected to a man, whether that is her father or a former relationship. And when you go through that, that forces you to close up your heart and it forces you to have your walls up as a safety mechanism. And that's why I think the most important thing that the masculine can do is really provide that safety and security and make the woman like really feel safe in your presence, safe to feel, safe to express and be your most authentic self. And I think once that level of safety is achieved, that's when they can feel safe to like submit and surrender fully.
Of course. Yeah. They're not going to do that up front. You know? Right. Yeah. I agree fully. And that's why, again, I'd say it's, I mean, you kind of just confirmed the point that it is on the dude first to be able to create that space. Right. So it kind of confirms what I was saying is like, it's on you to build yourself up to even get to that point. And there's so much that goes into that, but That's what it is. You got to be able to attract the girl into your life and then be able to, once the attraction's in place, create a space for her to fall into or submit into.
It's not, it's also though, it's a two-way street in the fact that, you can only go as deep with somebody who's gone that depth with themselves, right? Like if you've done a certain level of inner work and someone's kind of just getting started on their spiritual journey, for example, it's hard to sometimes find that congruence and alignment, because at the end of the day, you need to be open to receiving. And a lot of times what I've realized in my own journey is like, I was closed off for much of my life to actually just receiving support and receiving love. And now that I've kind of worked through some of that, I can really sense when somebody else is in that same energy of like, damn, like I really want to help that person. I really see that person and I see their light. I see their potential.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're yet at a place in their own journey where they're open to receiving me and my support and my love fully. And that's like a hard pill to swallow, because you've probably experienced this as well, like being in the coaching space.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
You see someone's potential. Same thing with your clients and students. It's like, yo, like they're in their own shit, they're in their own head, but you see their potential before they see it. That's what makes coaches great, right? Is being able to activate the best version of someone. And I've realized that when I look back at like my history of dating, I oftentimes have chosen a partner that I saw so much potential in. And I tried to almost play that coaching role of like me helping activate the best version of you to prove my own worthiness, like to prove my own value. And at the end of the day,
to yourself or for her, you're saying?
Like to prove to her, like I'm worthy, like, and to prove to myself that I can like also help this person and like bring out the best in them. And bro, at the end of the day, I realized it's fucking exhausting, number one. And that person needs to have a deep desire to also evolve. And if that isn't there, then there's just going to be a disconnect. And, yeah, like that's my experience. Yeah, it's a tough thing to navigate, but at the end of the day, I agree. Like it's our responsibility to take ownership. Yeah, bro, this has been fucking fun.
For sure, brother.
Yeah, this has been really dope. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you feel called to share?
I mean, I could do this all day, bro. This is all I do. So it's like, what did you tell me?
Is there a question maybe that you have never been asked before that you would love to be asked? Because I think we're going to have a round 2 at some point, because I definitely want to go deeper into like some of the childhood shit that you've overcome. And I think there's a lot of powerful stuff there. Like, I don't know how much of that you've shared online.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, everybody's heard a different variation of my story. So like, I'm down to go to whatever depth you want to bring it to, brother.
Bro, I just want to let you know, like, honestly, on some real shit, I feel like this conversation like activated a fire inside of me to show up in a more powerful way for my community.
Oh, you got to, bro. You got to.
Yeah.
You'll do it initially. Man, it's hard to even articulate, but you're going to have to do, you feel inspired to do it right now. You'll start doing it. Then you'll see it has a ripple effect into the clients. And then that will circle back into you, because you'll then assume more responsibility because you see how much influence you actually have over these people. And it kind of, it just kind of keeps going like that. It's like you go harder and then you see it has a more positive impact in the community. And then
it just creates ripples.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. So,
well, dude, I want to genuinely acknowledge you for just the way that you're showing up for yourself and the way that you show up for your community, your clients, your students, and also just being able to overcome the shit that you've overcome in your life, you know, from the loss of your father to, you know, certain breakups, and also just really being so committed to the path of becoming the best version of yourself. It's genuinely inspired me to step deeper into that. So I really appreciate you, bro. And I'm excited to just continue like building a friendship with you, you know?
For sure, brother.
Yeah.
For sure.
So however I can be of service, just let me know and we'll keep fucking vibing, bro. Whenever you get sick of this like concrete jungle and you want to come to the beach, I got this. Have you been to Standard Spa?
No, I don't know what you're talking about now.
Have you been to Soho House?
No, I haven't been.
Okay.
Either, no.
Damn. All right.
Yeah.
We got a lot. You got a lot to see.
Okay.
All right. So we'll make that happen probably like next weekend. But yeah, dude, I'm really grateful. And we'll record like an intro and outro for this.
Okay.
But if there's any shit that you want to plug in right now.
I mean, fuck, I feel like I plugged the shit out of my community like throughout the whole thing.
Well, I'm going to actually,
Are you guys going to trim it out or what?
Wait, you were just, grab that water bottle again. Coach Kyle, my guy. This dude bro, don't you know the harmful effects of drinking from plastic?
You guys provided this to me.
No, we got the glass, my G.
Who gave me this shit? This was set up right here. I thought this was sparkling. I didn't want to be burping the whole thing. What up?
Nah, I mean, I was just trying to look out for your hormones, your testosterone, because I know that shit's important to you. You feel me?
I mean, nobody notified me, bro.
I got you.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll keep that shit glass. Sorry, I didn't know that you were drinking from plastic.
We good, bro.
Yeah, I just noticed that. I'm like, no.
I mean, you guys got plastic bottles all over you. I think everybody's doing it, bro.
Really?
Yeah.
That's you, Mike?
Yeah.
God damn. All right.
Yeah.
I gotta meet with the team after this. Unacceptable.
I got the reverse osmosis filter. Like that's all I use. But
yeah, I mean, dude, all this shit's important. We live in a society that's just constantly trying to disconnect us from ourselves. Whether that's fluoride in tap water, whether that's just the shitty quality food, whether that's porn, whether it's alcohol. The demonic agenda is always trying to disconnect us from our hearts and from the present moment. And it's up to people like you and me to actually reconnect people to themselves, to their most authentic self, to their truth, to their hearts, so they can actually live a life with health, with happiness, with abundance. And that's what we fucking do, my dude. So let's get some dope picks.
let's get it.
Appreciate you, my G.
Oh, appreciate it.
You did it. You made it to the end of the podcast. I am so proud of you for pursuing this path of becoming the best version of yourself. Now, if this episode provided you value, then all I ask is that you share it with a friend and check out some of our other episodes, because my mission is to really bring you the best people in the world so you can become the most elevated version of yourself. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you next time.